might be wondering, why are we comparing two Yamaha bikes that have the same engine and are in a close price range? Well, one is a fully fed motorcycle while the another one is a naked street fighter. Yes, they are priced very near but are yet so different. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Yamaha R15 V3 and this is the Yamaha MT-15, and in this video we will be telling you the pros and cons of buying both the bikes. So let's start with the Yamaha MT-15 first. As I told you earlier, it is a naked street fighter. That's why you get the upright riding stance and the flexibility to shift into mildly aggressive one as well. This makes the MT-15 suitable for the daily city riding and is actually a great one that too. So the foot pegs are set forward, and because of the overall riding position, the fuel tank is a bit short and that's why you are seated quite forward on the seat. Talking about the pillion, it is more comfortable and spacious than the R15 V3, and of course you have something to hold on to as well. So now let's move over to the R15 V3. Now moving on to the R15 V3, it has always been a good sports bike for a beginner and it justifies that image very well. That's because of this low-heighted clip-on handlebars that make you lean forward quite much. That's why you also get the aggressive riding position that a sport bike should have, and also you get the advantage of aerodynamics. However, this one is a pain in the city as your wrists start paining even after riding for a couple of kilometers. The foot pegs are set quite far back and the fuel tank is also large and long. That's why you are seated quite far behind on the motorcycle. Talking about the pillion, I think it's basically useless to put a pillion on the R15 V3. That's because it is set quite above the bike and also you have nothing to hold on to. That makes most of the pillion riders actually afraid to sit back. So that makes it a girlfriend material, I guess. As for the MT-15, it gets a completely revised engine tuning which is suitable for the city riding. Also, the sprocket setup is a bit larger on this bike, basically giving you longer gear ratios. With longer gears, you are basically able to achieve high speeds at lower gears. Also, the low end grunt of the MT-15 is better, which is again good for its purpose. The suspension setup of the MT-15 is set towards the softer side, which basically gives you less jerks to the spine. So the MT-15 misses out on the rear ABS, which as per me is a big letdown. Talking about the handling, of course, with this upright stance, it is quite nimbler to handle and can cut through the traffic. The R15 V3, as told earlier, is a beginner sports bike. You get shorter gearing ratios which makes you rev up the bike real quickly. This particular factor makes the R15 V3 a lot more exciting to ride than the MT-15. Also, this concludes that this bike is well suited for the track riding and racing and not for the city commuting. With this aggressive riding position, you get the advantage of minimal wind blast, or you call it the aerodynamics, which basically generates a better top speed than the MT-15 is, and it also makes the R15 slightly quicker on its toes. I'm not saying that the R15 V3 is not agile, but with this position, you are not able to take sharper and quick cuts in comparison to that bike. The suspension setup is stiff on the R15 V3 in comparison to the MT-15, which is basically suited for its own purpose. That said, the R15 basically gives out an open invitation to the potholes and damaged roads because of its suspension. The Yamaha has equipped the R15 with dual channel ABS, which is an added advantage over the MT-15, but that said, the bite of both the brakes on the bikes is not up to the mark. Lastly, Yamaha has also given Metzellers on the R15 at the back, which is better in terms of grip for the smooth tarmacs as well as for the wet roads. Drawing on the verdict, you must know by now how both the bikes are different in their own world. While one is just for the racing and quick riding, the another one is just for your quicker office commute. Also, with the R15, most of you won't be taking it to the track, so it will serve as your daily ride as well. So, the R15 V3 is priced at Rs 1.39 lakhs, whereas the MT goes just Rs 3,000 lesser for Rs 1.36 lakhs. For suspension, handling and the daily dependence, you go with the MT-15, but for the real racing adrenaline, the dual channel ABS, and if you are able to live with that aggressive riding position, you are good to go with the R15 V3.